Hi, everyone. It's Bill Fairman with Carolina Capital Management, along with Jonathan Davis. And then Wendy Sweet is over in the corner. We're trying to be socially distant as
Far
possible.
apart.
Um, and I think we talked about this before. Wendy and I have been socially distant for most of our lives.
Yeah, 58 years.
So we're siblings. By the way, don't forget to share, like, subscribe. And if you have any information, I'm sorry, if you'd like any more information,
If you have any, we'll take that too.
We'll take all the information we can get.
That's right.
we're all about learning. So yes,
That's right.
if you, by the way, that reminds me, if you have any information, you can put it in the little chat box there.
That's right.
But our web address is carolinahardmoney.com. And again, if you do have any questions, you can pop them over there in the little chat box. So how's things
That's right.
going? Hey, how you like working from home?
It's nice. A little noisier than I'm
Yeah.
used to, but it's not terrible.
You work and then you say, "Stop it."
I know. I was telling Bill earlier. It's like I've threatened to take away the same toy about 7 times now. Oh man, it's it's a little different, but it's good.
We should try that here at the office.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, it goes without saying we are working in a different world now than we did a month ago, right?
Mhm.
So let me give you, I want to say highlights, but some of them are lowlights. So today, what is today's date? The 15th?
No, I think
So the 16th, it's the end of Passover today.
Okay, so
we don't even know what day it is.
Thursday the 16th, these numbers came out this morning. The new unemployment first time applications 5.25 million.
Wow.
That brings us to a total so far since this has happened of around 23 million. That's
Unemployed, 23 million unemployed.
Applicants.
filed for first time
Wow.
unemployment applications. That's a lot. Now, that's bad news.
Yeah.
However, you know, there are some good news to that. Some of it is that these are a lot of these are temporary furloughs,
Hmm.
but there's also going to be a lot of people that those jobs will never come back. There's going to be businesses that are not going to make it through this as well.
Yeah, and I wonder, as an aside, I guess, but how many people don't want to go back to work because of that, the extra money that they're getting. I've talked to several people, and they are making more money with unemployment and the extra $600 a week than
Sure.
they were at their place of employment.
However, that only lasts
Yeah,
for what 4 months is the max.
I think 4 months is the max. Yeah.
And they're also going to have taxes due at the end of that period.
Well,
they're
no
not
one's
taking
thinking
taxes
about
out.
no, you're not thinking about
So
taxes.
you're going to have this big bill at the end of the year.
Yep.
So that being said, I think most people want to work.
Hmm.
They don't want to be dependent on the government because that's not going to last long anyway. Now, another good piece of this being temporary and um, the fact that some businesses will never come back because lifestyles and uh, patterns have changed, which means there's opportunity for other businesses to fill those gaps.
Absolutely.
And so there's hiring opportunities elsewhere. I mean, look at all the grocery stores, the Amazons, everybody that needs delivery. So you had your Uber drivers that were hauling people around. Now they're hauling food around,
Exactly.
or they're delivering groceries in those same automobiles. So
I mean, and even what we were talking about earlier with Lindy was, we noticed in our own office, like we can do a lot of things virtually. How many businesses can't? And those are the ones who are fading quickly.
yeah, I think some of the issues with ordering online and stuff are going to be in the demographic that are, above 50. They may have issues.
Yeah.
When you get into the 80-year-olds, I know my mother-in-law didn't even own a computer, so there's no way she's ordering groceries online.
She has a phone, right?
Yeah. Anyway, moving along. Housing starts. Housing starts were down.
What do you mean by housing starts?
New homes being built.
New homes being built. Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Residential single-family housing starts were down 22%. this month over last month. Building permits were down on everything but multifamily. They were actually up.
Interesting.
So, and I'm kind of a data nerd.
Mhm.
I watch all the business shows, and a couple of the knuckleheads were saying that because of the economy, the uncertainty, people aren't going to be buying homes. They're going to be moving into apartments, and that's why there's more building permits for multifamily. And we all know, we're in the business.
Yeah.
You don't just start with a subdivision and then turn it into multifamily. It takes a little while to get the.
Those are big projects. Those are.
And besides that, you can't just. It's got to be zoned properly.
Yeah, you have to have the right zone, and you have to have the right infrastructure in place. I mean, you just, like you said, you just can't convert.
So either.
But then you also have other analysts that are all saying now that instead of having multifamily, that people are going to really want to move into the single family arena because of the social distancing. They're not comfortable anymore being so close to their neighbor. People who have worked out of their homes and they're smaller, or they're in apartments and they're smaller, they're now going to want to be in a place where they have more space because they're getting used to working virtually. That's one of the things we talked about is, wow, it really is easy to work virtually. And gosh, we're getting so much more done because we're able to work virtually. So you've got, two different camps saying completely opposite things. And so nobody really knows. My crystal ball broke back in 2007. I wish I knew what was going, but it's really up for grabs. We don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
So there's our show.
What do we know? We do know the data points that you just pointed out. We also know that before this, there was a housing shortage on the single family side. That housing shortage hasn't gone down.
Right.
So, what we can do is, then postulate what we think will happen based off the information that we have. And, my opinion is
Postulate. That's his $5.
It's a big word. He gets 3 points for that.
My opinion is we're going to see when this all breaks, the COVID-19 and, the social distancing is, the markets open back up. We're going to see, I think, a lot more single family sales on the end user buyer. I think the values that perhaps might get hurt the most are your lower end rentals. But if they're cash flowing, just keep them where they are.
That's right.
So, and if they're not cash flowing, well, I'm sorry. That may have not been the best investment.
Well,
with us, I'm sorry, Bill. Like he's not next to me, so he can't hit me to make me stop talking. So, the other thing too is for us, our loans, our borrowers have not changed. We're still getting draw requests on a regular basis. They're still doing work. All the contractors are still doing what they need to do. I've had a couple people tell me that they've had contractors that have been no-show problems, but they're the ones that were no-show problems to begin with. So investors that are doing fix and flip are still moving. We're still getting calls about, people wanting to borrow money, and we're actually getting ready to ramp that back up again to where we're putting loans in our pipeline. Of course, they're going to be a bit tighter than what they once were, but that market is still just as strong as it can be. And I think we discussed this offline a little earlier about there may not be as many new construction permits being pulled, and that just means that the fix and flip market's going to be even stronger.
Well, I was going to mention on the apartment starts, it's a lot easier to take a mixed use development and, that's in the pipeline and say, all right, well, let's just start the multifamily part of this first and get it going and not worry too much about the commercial piece, because you don't know what the restaurant and the retail business is going to be like. So let's start on the multifamily, because we know we can probably get those leased up fairly quickly. So that makes sense there. One of the other things that came in yesterday was the home builder sentiment monthly report. And this is, I love this.
Sentiment.
They don't actually go by numbers.
Yeah.
They go by how they're feeling.
That's true.
And
That's
so
really
they,
what it is.
so they poll all these, builders, and they say, so how are you feeling about sales? Not how are your sales? How are you
Mhm.
feeling
Yeah.
future sales? And the scale is from 1 to 100. And
That's a large
and
scale,
100 is, 100 is good,
Yeah.
1 is bad.
Wow. Yeah. I'd say
And
so.
So for the past 3 or 4 years, it's been in the upper 80s, lower 90s, and it came in at 38.
Wow.
Wow.
So that, along with the lower housing starts, actually kind of tease us up, because if they're not building and there's still demand out there, then that means the people that are doing the rehab are going to be at the head of the curve, when this thing turns around.
Yeah.
Your biggest concerns are the people that are buying homes. How are the mortgage bankers going to look at somebody that had to have rent,
Help.
deferred for 3 months, or they're
Mhm.
moving from one house to another, and they send out a mortgage verification, and there's a deferment, or
Yeah.
uh, some kind of payment issue? Is that going to count against them because it was all in this time frame?
Yeah. Good points. Yeah.
When you send out a verification of employment, and
And
they
you have a
were
gap in your
yeah,
pay history.
they
Yeah.
were, they were laid off for a certain period of time, is that going to affect
Mhm.
them qualifying for a loan? So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for private lenders on the consumer mortgage side of things too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. However, when you've got 23 million people in the same boat, it makes me wonder if they won't change their underwriting guidelines for a certain part or a particular time frame to overlook those kinds of things, because that's going to be a really, really big deal. One of the things that we're seeing in the next 6 months for loans for investors is, and I think everybody's going to see this, is that everybody's guideline box is going to be a whole lot tighter than it had been. I mean, even for us, we were doing 100% purchase and 100% of the rehab at 70% of the ARV. So now we're down at 65%, 90% of the purchase, 100% of the rehab amount. We care about how much of the purchase, how much of the whole loan is dedicated to just the rehab. We're trying to limit our exposure. I know that others are going to do the same.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is something that will stay in place. It's good for everybody if it does stay in place, because investors need to be concerned about their exposure as well. Or is it something that's going to get tighter in the future? You really don't know what that's going to look like.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, and you just have to be patient, see how things are going to work out. Again, to Jonathan's point, there's demand for housing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We still keep birthing babies. So
There's probably going to be a lot more in the next 9 months, I bet.
So yeah. Yeah.
So they're either fighting at home or making up, one of the
Yeah.
two.
Probably both.
And then I'm thinking that's why Lowe's and Home Depot have been so busy. People are sitting in these houses going, wow, I thought 1,500 square feet was a lot more room than this.
I need to get outside and do something.
I need
yeah.
some extra space.
Yeah.
I'm stuck here with you all this
Yeah.
extra time.
That's, yeah.
So, and then same thing happened in 07, 08, 09.
Mhm.
People stayed in their homes longer, and instead of looking out, to buy a new house, they just improved the one they had or expanded the one they had.
Yeah.
I think in the long run, you're not going to. The only reason you're going to see new loans is from refinancing. Now, I don't mean totally new loans, but I think being in the same mortgage for more than 7 years is not going to happen, because everybody's refinancing because rates are low.
Yeah.
But I see people staying in their homes longer, if possible, not moving.
If they're already in a single family home.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing I think we all need to be seriously aware of is the values of the properties and what they're going to look like. I was listening to Dave Steck have a conversation, a webinar that was extremely informative. He's a data guy, really, really does a lot of in-depth data research. And one of the things that he said really stuck with me, even in 2007, when everything went to hell in a handbasket, it still took, even from 2009, it took 18 to 21 months for the values of the properties to bottom out. So even when we get back up and running again, that's something that we need to be really, every investor needs to be concerned about this. Where is the bottom going to be? How long is it going to take us to get to that point? And how far will it go? We really don't know the answer to that, but we need to be aware of it. Tread lightly. I love the term patience that you used, Bill. I don't think people should stop buying. We just need to make sure we're getting better deals and understand that the values are going to go down. I don't think there's any way around that. We just don't know how far that's going to go. And we need to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. This is going to take some time.
Well,
Good points.
One of the things that's going to help that is that although sales are down, new purchases are down, inventory is down too.
That's true.
So that's going to keep the prices, I want to say, artificially
Afloat.
high
Yeah.
because you don't have a big demand for people trying to sell their homes.
Mhm.
They're not putting them on the market
Yeah.
because they're afraid of not being able to buy a new one.
Yeah. Get what they want out of their home and buy a new one. Yeah.
So you're still going to see higher demand typically than you're going to see supply because we're still forming households. There's no way around that. We were already behind.
And I think a lot of a reason why there aren't a lot of houses on the market, number one, is people don't want other people walking through their houses. And in many states, you can't even legally do that. Well, with the new rules that have come out. So vacant houses are doing really well as far as showings are concerned. And that's really all you're seeing on the market. Also, anybody who is putting their house on the market and with a really good real estate agent, the agent's going to tell them, hey, I wouldn't be on the market during this time anyway, because when things start moving again, it's going to look like they were on the market for a very long time when it's really going to be a flawed count of how many days that property was really available to sell, because you've got 2 months where it's not going to sell anyway. And when people see that it's been on the market for a while, they're going to come in with lower offers, and it just makes the whole deal look a lot worse to a lot of people. So I think that's why the inventory is really down.
So here's what FEMA needs to do, or the government. They need to go in and they need to get all these FEMA trailers that they're not using for disasters. They need to park them at everyone's house that's listed, and then they can move into the FEMA trailer. That way, when people come to look at their house, they won't be afraid that they're bringing a disease in there because they're living in the trailer anyway.
I mean, we have a couch that we were looking to sell, and I mean, we can't even sell the couch because we don't, my wife doesn't want people in our house right now. I mean, take that to the next degree, and in people's homes. I get it.
It's a great question.
Yeah, I like what Sohill is saying here.
It's about the wholesalers. People still think their house is worth a certain amount. Well, it may still be. That's the problem.
Yeah.
With wholesalers, you still need to find out what the pain point is. I'd still be negotiating lower because let's face it, they're probably going to have fewer people knocking on their door.
Yeah, the buyers are slimmer right now.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem of it taking a while for the values to drop over time, because you still have all these comparables.
Yeah, they take a while to work out. Yeah.
When you're looking at closed sales, you're looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
You look back, 6 to 12 months, or sooner if you can get them. But
Well, the thing about on the wholesaling side, it's all about, I need to sell this now.
Mm,
You need to find out what their reason for selling the house in the first
Mhm.
place. That's going to determine whether you're going to get a good price on it or not. That's the only way I can really help you right now,
mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what their pain point is
Yep.
and then solving that. It's not necessarily all about price. Sometimes it's about being able to work with somebody where you can do a subject to,
Mm-hmm.
Or seller financing.
utilizing their current financing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at other ways to make the deal, and you can only find that out by
Asking the
understanding what the sellers
That's
reason
right.
for selling it.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's a comment in the chat asking about what if foreclosures go way up, and that's always a possibility that would happen. And I think that would be a good thing for investors, of course, if the foreclosures go back up. What was the other question that just popped up? I didn't get a chance to read it.
well, it is mainly about making sure you have cash reserves. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people hurting, a lot of people out of jobs.
Cash is king right now.
You're going to have cash, and I'm going to get into that too with what we're doing with the fund, and this might be a great place to start that anyway. All funds are operating a little bit differently. Our fund is strictly lending,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a short-term loan that we're doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of short-term loans is they're typically high yielding. The downside of short-term loans is they're short-term, and you're constantly having to turn them over in order to make the peak return in your fund.
Correct. Yeah.
When things like this happen, and we were very fortunate a year ago, and because we're part of all these groups, we realized the market was already at its peak.
Mm.
And I don't want to say we knew this was coming, but we knew it was at the peak, and the only thing it could do was go down.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever
So,
whatever the catalyst was for it, it was moving down.
We used to do very large luxury homes,
Mhm.
Which is a lot easier for us as a lender because it's less work and it's more money.
Yeah, you work as hard on $1 million transaction as a lender as you do 100,000.
That's right.
Same amount of work.
The downside to that is if a few of them go bad, then you're out a lot more money.
Very true. Yeah.
That said, the single family home that is the most, I guess, wanted out there, the biggest piece of the buying public is buying the affordable house.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got your first time home buyers fit into that category. You got your empty nesters that fit into that category. And you have investors that are buying homes to rent are all in that category.
Yeah.
So those homes are always going to have a place.
And affordable in our area, in the southeast area, is about 300 and under.
Right.
Yeah.
So our average loan size went from 258,000 down to 155, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Last
156.
year, 156.
Yeah.
So, and then the same thing with small multifamilies. We're staying in the affordable housing. So, as a fund, we're in really good shape because worst case scenario, if we had to foreclose on every single property that we have, and we know that's not going to happen, we could at least rent these things out if we can't sell them quickly.
Right.
Yep.
It's hard to sell $1 million house quickly because there's very few people that can afford them.
It's hard to rent $1
You
million
can't
house
rent
quickly.
a $1 million house for anywhere near your expected return. You can do that with a 200 or $300,000 house, absolutely. And there's still people are still being able to do their fix and flips right now. Our area has not been shut down where building is not going on.
Well, active construction is essential. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That and the liquor stores.
And the liquor stores can't.
So-
Well, then Bill, too, you need to really talk about, when people are looking at their market and wondering what's going to happen in their market, you have to really look at, and you brought this up, what is the employment opportunity in your area? You know, we've got American Airlines hub here with 33,000 employees
Mhm.
that have been, you know, really booted out for a while. We've got lots of hotel tourism going on here. Johnson and Wales is the big restaurant college that's here in downtown Charlotte. And so we've got restaurants galore. They're mostly out of work. It's, you know, we've got a pretty big segment that's been hit. So people need to look in their areas too and see what, you know, what's your main employer status there? What, you know, are they hurting, or is it medical? Are they working like crazy? So you really have to think about that.
Yeah, and fortunately in our market, we have a lot of diversity in employment here. So while the tourism industry and people taking flights have really taken a hit,
Mhm.
we have logistics here that is just blowing up. So
Right.
the people that are delivering goods and services to homes are really, really huge here. So while some people are going to be displaced in these markets, they're going to be able to make it up in some of these other businesses that are taking off. So yes, Wendy makes a great point. You every area is a little bit different. I know South Florida is really hit hard because they have the cruise industry, they have all the hotels and
Restaurant. I mean, everything. Yeah.
yeah, they have all this. And one of the other industries that are kind of hit hard are the active senior living
Hmm.
because now they're all basically caged in. They can't go anywhere. So it's not very active, is it?
Not an active community anymore.
So back to finish my point on the fund side and getting back into the reserves. So in our fund, you're going to be getting a little bit less of a return than you've been used to, and part of that reason is because we are taking extra money, extra funds each quarter, and we're putting them aside for loan loss reserves because we want to make sure that we have plenty of reserves in case we do have some issues with being able to collect payments, or if we have to take properties back, we have
Yeah.
to pay to have those foreclosed on and marketed and that type of thing.
Hmm.
At the same time, we're not lending as much because we are being more
Conservative.
and choosy because we're not exactly sure what the values are going to be in the next 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So we're taking a more conservative approach, which means
Which is
there's
also
gonna
a
be-
really good thing for short-term lending.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Absolutely.
another highlight point for us. I mean, our loans average term are what, 9 months thereabouts. You know,
Mm-hmm.
markets don't typically shift dramatically in that time frame.
and back to that patience. Just
Yes.
the key is just to be patient.
Mhm.
You don't want to just stop lending, but you don't want to make the deal. Well, we never made deals that if everything had to work perfectly, it was going to work.
It never does. Yeah.
Not that I've seen.
No.
If you're buying properties, you need to stress them.
Hmm.
If they're going to be on the market an extra 6 months, can you still handle it? That's what we're looking at.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I've got active rehabs that are going on right now, and they're still going. It's going at a slower pace, but I'm looking at at least 3 months longer to completion than I thought.
And at the same time, if you're doing rentals, if you can only get, let's assume your tenant's going to miss 3 payments this year.
Mhm.
You're still going to be able to have a cash flow.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to break even. You're not really breaking even. Because even if you're breaking even, you're going backwards. There's always expenses.
Yeah.
So you still have to have cash flow.
Hmm.
So just make sure that you're stressing these to figure for extra vacancy.
Yep.
And if it's still a deal, it's still a deal. You don't. I think, and I forget who it was that made this point yesterday in David's meeting, but you're out in the. I think it was Greg Hughes. You're out in the Midwest. If you're buying a bunch of rental properties in the Midwest, values aren't really going to change much.
Hmm.
They don't have the ups and downs. So you're not out there looking for the lowest prices in the Midwest. You're just buying them when they're available. Now, are the prices going to come down a little bit? Yes. But you're still looking at the cash flow part of it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
In the other markets, especially the sand states, their values are always up and always down. And you're, if you're doing that, if you're purchasing for rentals in those areas, you're purchasing in the wrong places.
Yeah.
unless you're buying apartment complexes. Single family, for the most part, in those sand states, or it's tough. You're only going to buy them when the market's down,
Yeah.
so you can get a decent cash flow, and you're not buying when the market is up because there's not enough margin.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are the areas to look in when they are down, but not right now.
Yeah.
They're not down yet. Right.
You're right.
So I guess to kind of sum it up, we're being patient. We're still doing business, but we're picking and choosing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I will say, jump in. We are still lending at more favorable terms than probably everyone else that I've talked to who is either a regional or national lender. And the reason we're doing that is we know our market very well. And we only work with very experienced borrowers. And we are in complete control of what's going on. And like you said, we defined what our product is and what our niche in the market is. And I feel like we know it well. So if people are looking for loans or to get lending, we are open for business and probably can get you something a little better than other people that you've talked to.
and one of the benefits of being small and regional is it's easy for us to pivot and work with what's available. You get your bigger funds, your national lending companies. Scott said this earlier that that big cruise ship takes a while to make a turn.
Absolutely.
And we're not that way. We're very nimble, and we take what the market gives us.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Wendy, any last words?
Believe it or not, I'm all out.
Really?
No, I just want to, I think that what you said about, yeah, you goaded me into it. One of the things I think that you said that's true is we're very, very competitive in our rates and terms right now. And one of those reasons is because everybody else has raised their rates and raised their terms and made their terms more difficult, which is something we haven't really done. We're kind of staying steady with what we've done. We've gotten a little bit tighter in the loan to value, the ARV that we're doing, the loan to value on that. But for the most part, we're still riding down the same path. It's taken a little bit longer to get appraisers out and to get title work pulled, but we're still, instead of the 2 weeks, we're running on 3 and 4 weeks right now. But we're still moving. We're trying to ramp it up a little bit more. So I'm excited. I know we're all ready to get back to work and get that going. But we're also extremely concerned with preserving the principal of our investors and just making sure that our deals will be solid even in this unknown market.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be clear, the turn times for appraisers and inspectors and title work really doesn't have as much to do with the current COVID-19 thing as you think. Refinance applications are up 192% from this time last year. So they're all really busy with other people.
That's right.
When I saw it right out there, like 2.9 something.
Probably a 15 because the 30-year fix this morning was 3.31%.
3.31.
So yeah, everyone who can refinance has already got their application in. But besides that, it'd be a great time to get cash out if you could.
Yeah. HELOCs, cash out refinances, whatever you can.
So
I'm in line for that. For sure.
I took your advice, Wendy. I went ahead and did that as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, well, I'm just waiting for my government cheese. All right. So Guys, thanks so much for joining the show.
Don't forget to subscribe, like,
Right. By the way, we are
tell all your friends.
Carolina Capital Management.
Yes.
Our URL, which those people who know, it's a web address. CarolinaHardMoney.com. Please like, please share, please follow. Do a little thumbs up thingy.
Yeah.
Tell all your
Tell all
friends.
your friends.
Send us your comments, your questions.
Your money.
Only send the good comments.
That's
All
right.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you later.
Thanks.